There was a time he believed the same lie almost everyone believes, that happiness was something you chase, something you earn, something waiting for you just a little further ahead. So he ran toward money, toward success, toward better mornings, toward exciting nights, toward people who made him feel alive, toward goals that promised meaning, toward anything that could silence the emptiness for one more day. And sometimes it worked, for a moment. A promotion, a new relationship, a perfect weekend, a compliment, a purchase, a burst of motivation at 2 a.m. For a few hours, maybe a few days, he felt it, that warm rush, that dangerous feeling of finally. But it never stayed. The trip ended, the excitement faded, the person changed, the money became normal, the motivation disappeared, and every single time the silence returned. So he did what most people do. He blamed himself. Maybe I need more discipline. Maybe I need more success. Maybe I need better habits. Maybe I need the right partner. Maybe I need to heal more. Maybe I need to try harder. So he chased faster, and the faster he chased happiness, the emptier he became, because no one told him the truth. Happiness is a terrible life goal. It is unstable. It is emotional weather. It comes, it goes, and if you build your life around catching feelings, you will spend your life exhausted. One night, after getting something he once prayed for, he sat alone in a quiet room. No crisis, no disaster, no tragedy, just silence. And in that silence, a terrifying question appeared. If I got what I wanted, why do I still feel empty? That was the night everything cracked open, because for the first time he considered something impossible. What if happiness was never meant to be chased? What if the reason it kept escaping was because he was running after the wrong thing? And what happened next changed everything. He wasn't broken. He was programmed. Long before he ever felt empty, someone had already taught him what to chase. Not directly. No one sat him down and said, "Spend your life addicted to temporary feelings." It was subtler than that. It came through advertisements, movies, social media, success stories, songs, friends. The culture around him whispered the same message every day. You are one upgrade away from happiness, one more purchase, one better body, one dream vacation, one perfect relationship, one breakthrough year, one viral moment, one version of yourself away from finally feeling complete. So he believed it, because everyone did. He thought life was a ladder, and happiness lived at the top. If he climbed fast enough, worked hard enough, became attractive enough, interesting enough, wealthy enough, desired enough, then one day he would arrive,
and finally rest. But there was one problem. Every time he reached the next level, the feeling disappeared faster than before. The new phone became normal, the raise became expected, the attention became empty, the relationship became complicated, the dream city became familiar, the goal he obsessed over became just another Tuesday. So he set a new target, and then another, and another, because modern life depends on this cycle. If you were content, who could sell you more? If you felt whole, who could manipulate your insecurity? If peace satisfied you, what would keep the machine moving? So the world trains people to stay slightly dissatisfied, slightly restless, slightly convinced that joy is almost here, but not yet, and that not yet becomes a prison. He didn't notice it at first. Most people don't. They call it ambition. They call it standards. They call it self-improvement. Sometimes it is, but often it is emotional hunger wearing expensive clothes. It is emptiness dressed as productivity. It is loneliness disguised as goals. It is fear pretending to be motivation. And the saddest part? People spend years chasing things they never truly wanted because they were told wanting them would make them happy. That is the modern trap. You keep moving, keep buying, keep upgrading, keep comparing, keep proving, keep performing, yet something inside remains starving, because hunger of the soul cannot be fed by surface pleasures. And deep down, he was beginning to feel it. There had to be another way to live. But first, he needed to understand why chasing happiness was making him miserable.
The problem was never happiness itself. The problem was making happiness the measurement of life. Because the moment feelings become your compass, you get lost. He didn't realize it at first. He thought he was simply trying to feel better, trying to build a good life, trying to protect his peace. But slowly, without noticing, he had handed control of his entire existence to emotion. If he woke up energized, it was a good day. If he woke up anxious, something was wrong. If he felt inspired, he believed he was on the right path. If he felt bored, he thought life was failing him. If he felt lonely, he assumed he was broken. If he felt pain, he rushed to escape it. And this is how many people live, not by truth, not by values, not by long-term purpose, but by emotional weather reports. Sunny mood, life is beautiful. Cloudy mood, everything is collapsing. One compliment can lift them. One rejection can destroy them. One productive morning makes them hopeful. One hard afternoon makes them hopeless. They become unstable because they built identity on unstable ground. Feelings change hourly, sometimes for no reason. Lack of sleep, hormones, stress, memories, weather, comparison, a song, a text message, even hunger. Yet people trust emotions like they are facts. They are not. Emotions are signals, not commands. Visitors, not rulers. Weather, not the sky. But he had mistaken temporary feelings for permanent truth, so every uncomfortable emotion felt like emergency. Every low mood became a crisis. Every dull season felt like failure. Every painful chapter looked like proof that life was wrong. And because discomfort felt unacceptable, he kept reaching for anything that could remove it quickly. Distraction, pleasure, entertainment, validation, another goal, another person, another purchase, another version of tomorrow. But escaping pain teaches pain to control you. The more he tried to avoid emptiness, the stronger emptiness became. The more he demanded happiness, the rarer happiness felt. Because happiness cannot survive under pressure. Try forcing laughter. Try commanding love. Try chasing sleep. The harder you grab, the more it slips. And one day he saw the truth clearly. He was not living, he was managing moods. He was organizing his schedule around feelings, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel clear, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel motivated to begin. And while he waited, life moved on. Years disappear this way, not through catastrophe, but through hesitation, through emotional dependency, through believing you must feel good before doing what matters. That realization hurt, but it also freed him, because if feelings were not truth, then maybe he didn't need to obey them anymore. And if he didn't need to obey them, then what exactly had been controlling him all this time? The answer was darker than he expected. It was dopamine.
He thought he lacked discipline. He thought he was lazy. He thought something inside him was weak. But the truth was simpler. His brain had been trained to reject ordinary life. Without realizing it, he had entered a prison with no walls, a prison built from pleasure. Tiny rewards, instant stimulation, constant novelty. The modern world offers dopamine everywhere. Endless scrolling, short videos, notifications, junk food, impulse shopping, pornography, gaming loops, online attention, breaking news, new music, new drama, new outrage, new distractions every minute. Each one gives something small, a spark, a hit, a little chemical whisper that says, "This feels better than right now." And the dangerous part is, it works. When he felt bored, he scrolled. When he felt lonely, he searched for attention. When he felt stressed, he consumed. When he felt empty, he distracted himself. When life felt hard, he escaped into stimulation. Nothing seemed extreme, nothing looked distractive. That is why it was powerful, because the cage looked normal. Everyone else was inside it too. But over time, something changed. Silence felt uncomfortable, stillness felt heavy, reading felt difficult, work felt unbearable, patience felt impossible, real conversations felt slow, simple pleasures felt dull. A walk outside no longer moved him. A calm evening felt strange. A single task felt painful. Why? Because when the brain gets fed constant intensity, normal life starts to feel like deprivation. Peace becomes boring. Focus becomes exhausting. Depth becomes frustrating. And meaning always loses to instant pleasure in the short term.
This is why so many people say they want a better life while daily choosing what destroys it. Not because they are stupid, not because they are weak, because they are conditioned. Because the nervous system learns speed, learns novelty, learns escape, learns reward without effort. And once it learns that pattern, discipline feels like punishment. But discipline was never punishment. It only felt that way to a brain addicted to easy rewards. He began noticing something terrifying. The things that gave quick pleasure left him emptier afterward. Hours online, numb afterward. Mindless entertainment, restless afterward. Temporary validation, anxious afterward. Cheap pleasure, expensive consequences. And the things that felt difficult at first, exercise, reading, creating, building, finishing, gave something deeper afterward. Strength, clarity, pride, peace, momentum. So why was he still choosing the wrong things? Because dopamine always pays up front. Meaning pays later. Pleasure gives immediately. Purpose gives gradually. And immature minds always choose what arrives first. That realization shook him, because he saw that much of his life had been shaped not by intention, but by impulse. He wasn't steering, he was reacting. He wasn't choosing, he was consuming. And if he stayed this way, he could lose years chasing tiny rewards while starving for a real life. Then one night, the emptiness became impossible to ignore. It did not happen during a tragedy. No one left him. No career collapsed. No disaster struck. That is what made it so unsettling. From the outside, his life looked fine. Stable income, a decent place to live, food in the kitchen, freedom to choose. People who assumed he was doing well. Some even envied him. And maybe that was the cruelest part, because pain is easier to explain when something is obviously broken. But how do you explain emptiness when nothing is wrong? That night the room was quiet. No music, no notifications, no voices. Just him, and the silence he had spent years outrunning. He sat there with everything he once thought would save him, the goals he used to dream about, the comfort he once begged for, the independence he once believed would feel like victory. Yet none of it touched the ache inside him. He stared at the ceiling and felt something he could no longer deny. He was tired. Not physically, existentially. Tired of trying to feel okay. Tired of chasing moods. Tired of becoming someone new every 6 months. Tired of collecting wins that never lasted. Tired of pretending progress and fulfillment were the same thing. Then the question came, quietly, sharply, almost like it had been waiting years to be asked. If I got what I wanted, why do I still feel empty? No distraction could answer it. No podcast, no quote, no dopamine hit, no new plan. Because some questions arrive only when life becomes quiet enough to hear them, and this one cut deep. Maybe the problem was never that he lacked enough. Maybe the problem was that he kept asking the wrong things to save him. He asked money to give meaning. He asked pleasure to give peace. He asked success to give identity. He asked attention to give self-worth. He asked comfort to give purpose. and none of those things were designed to carry that weight. That is why they kept collapsing beneath him. He began remembering all the moments he thought would complete him, the purchase he obsessed over, the relationship he idealized, the milestone he worshipped, the version of life he envied in others. Each time he reached one, he felt relief, then adaptation, then hunger again, because desire is endless when the soul is directionless. And for the first time, he stopped blaming the world, stopped blaming timing, stopped blaming childhood, stopped blaming motivation, stopped blaming other people. Instead, he faced something harder. He had built a life around relief, not meaning, around escape, not truth, around stimulation, not purpose. That realization hurt more than failure ever could, because failure says, try again, but emptiness says, try differently. He sat there for a long time, no panic, no tears, just a strange calm, the kind that comes when denial finally dies. And in that silence, a new thought entered the room. Maybe I don't need more happiness. Maybe I need a different aim entirely. That thought would become the turning point of his life, because next he was about to discover the brutal truth most people avoid forever. The truth did not comfort him. It exposed him. For years he believed he was searching for happiness, but now he could see it clearly. He was not searching for happiness. He was running from pain. There is a difference, a massive difference. One is pursuit, the other is escape. And many lives are destroyed because people confuse the two. He thought he wanted excitement. What he really wanted was relief from boredom. He thought he wanted attention. What he really wanted was relief from insecurity. He thought he wanted romance. What he really wanted was relief from loneliness. He thought he wanted money. What he really wanted was relief from fear. He thought he wanted constant motivation. What he really wanted was relief from responsibility. Every desire had a shadow beneath it, a wound asking to be numbed. And instead of healing wounds, he had been decorating them. This is why achievement felt hollow, because success cannot cure self-avoidance. You can become admired and still dislike yourself. You can become wealthy and still feel unsafe. You can become desired and still feel unseen. You can become busy and still feel empty. Pain ignored does not disappear. It waits, then returns stronger. So whenever discomfort rose inside him, he reached for something external, a screen, a plan, a fantasy, a purchase, a person, another goal, anything to avoid sitting still long enough to feel what was true. But avoidance always sends a message to the mind. This feeling is dangerous. And once the mind believes discomfort is dangerous, you become fragile. Small stress feels overwhelming. Silence feels threatening. Boredom feels unbearable. Rejection feels catastrophic. Ordinary struggle feels like suffering. That was the trap. The more he escaped pain, the weaker he became. The weaker he became, the more pain controlled him, and the cycle repeated. Then another realization struck him. He did not need more pleasure. He needed capacity. capacity to sit with discomfort, capacity to feel loneliness without panic, capacity to be bored without collapsing into distraction, capacity to work without applause, capacity to face truth without numbing it. Because strength is not the absence of pain, it is the ability to carry pain wisely. No one had taught him that. They taught him how to optimize, how to attract, how to consume, how to look successful, but not how to endure, not how to be still, not how to suffer meaningfully. And without those skills, every discomfort sends you back to chasing happiness. He saw why so many people stay stuck for decades. They keep redesigning the outside while abandoning the inside. New city, same emptiness. New partner, same patterns. New goals, same void. New identity, same fear. Until one day they wonder why nothing works, because nothing external can solve an internal absence of direction. That night he stopped asking, "How can I feel better?" and began asking, "What would make me stronger?" That single question changed the architecture of his mind, because once strength becomes the goal, temporary feelings lose their throne. And soon he would make 3 simple decisions that transformed everything. People imagine transformation as something dramatic. A breakthrough seminar, a mountain retreat, a near-death experience, a mentor appearing at the perfect time, a cinematic moment where music swells and life instantly changes. But most real transformations are quieter than that. They happen in ordinary rooms, on tired mornings, during unnoticed decisions, in moments no one applauds. His turning point looked small from the outside. No one would have recognized it. There were no tears, no grand speech, no sudden burst of confidence. Just a man who was exhausted by living the wrong way and finally ready to stop. That morning, he woke up with the same thoughts he always had. The same unfinished goals. The same pressure. The same uncertainty. The same emotional weight in his chest. Nothing external had changed, but internally, something had. And that was the day everything changed. Not because life became easier, it didn't. Not because he became happier overnight, he didn't. But because for the first time he stopped living like a servant to emotion. He began living by principles. And principles remain when feelings disappear. That day he still felt anxious, still uncertain, still imperfect. But he moved anyway, and movement with fear is stronger than waiting for confidence. He learned something most people never do. Your new life rarely begins with a feeling. It begins with a decision, a quiet one, repeated daily. Soon those decisions would produce something he had chased for years without ever catching: self-respect. At first, nothing felt magical. There was no cinematic sunrise, no sudden peace, no dramatic confidence, no voice from the sky telling him he had found the answer. In fact, The beginning felt disappointingly ordinary. He woke up early, made his bed, went for a walk, worked when he didn't feel like it, ate simple food, kept small promises, turned off distractions, read a few pages, called people he cared about, went to sleep on time. That was it. No one online would call it inspiring. No one would film it. No one would envy it. But something strange started happening. The chaos inside him became quieter. Because purpose rarely arrives as excitement. It arrives as order, as repetition, as responsibility, as doing what matters when no one is watching. For years he had chased pleasure because pleasure feels alive. It is immediate, colorful, stimulating, easy to recognize. But purpose often feels boring in the beginning because purpose asks for patience. Pleasure says, feel good now. Purpose says, become someone over time. Pleasure asks nothing from you. Purpose asks everything. That is why so few choose it. He began noticing the difference in his body. Cheap pleasure left residue, fog, regret, restlessness, need for more. But meaningful effort left something else. Calm fatigue, clean pride, steady energy, quiet confidence. He had spent years trying to feel alive through intensity, when what he truly wanted was solidity, a life that didn't collapse every time emotions changed, a mind that didn't panic in silence, a heart that didn't need constant stimulation to feel okay. So he kept doing small, meaningful things even when they felt dull, especially when they felt dull, because boredom was no longer proof something was wrong. It was often proof he was detoxing from chaos. That changed everything. Most people abandon good habits because they are not exciting. They mistake stimulation for alignment. They think if it feels slow, it must be wrong. But many beautiful things feel slow. Healing feels slow. Trust feels slow. Mastery feels slow. Growth feels slow. Roots grow in silence. So he stopped demanding fireworks from meaningful work, and once he did, he could finally stay consistent long enough to be changed by it. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and for the first time in years, he liked the man he was becoming. Not because he was impressive, because he was reliable. He kept his word to himself. That creates a feeling deeper than happiness, self-respect. And once a person tastes self-respect, many shallow pleasures lose their power. Still, one lesson remained, perhaps the most important of all. He needed to stop waiting for mood and learn the freedom of discipline.
For most of his life, he believed action should come after feeling, work after motivation, healing after clarity, exercise after energy, courage after confidence, consistency after inspiration. That belief sounds harmless, but it ruins years, because moods are unreliable. They change with sleep, with weather, with stress, with hormones, with memories, with one bad conversation, with one difficult morning. If your progress depends on emotion, your progress will always be fragile. And that had been his pattern. On good days, he was unstoppable. He planned, worked, dreamed big, promised change, felt like a new person. Then a low day came, and everything collapsed. The routine disappeared, the discipline vanished, the standards softened. He negotiated with himself. Tomorrow, next week, when I feel better, when life calms down, when I'm ready. But readiness is one of the most expensive illusions in life. Many people die waiting to feel ready. So he changed the rule. He stopped asking mood for permission. This was uncomfortable at first, because emotions protest when they lose authority. The mind said, "You're tired, you deserve a break, skip today, start fresh tomorrow, it won't matter." And sometimes rest was wise, but often it was avoidance wearing a gentle voice. He had to learn the difference. So he built a new identity, a man who does what must be done, especially when he doesn't feel like it. Not perfectly, not robotically, not with self-hatred, but steadily. He trained on low-energy days, worked through uncertain days, kept promises during boring days, stayed kind on difficult days, showed up during invisible days, and something powerful happened. He stopped fearing his emotions, because once you prove you can act while anxious, anxiety loses power. Once you can move while sad, sadness loses control. Once you can continue while unmotivated, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. This is freedom, not feeling good all the time, but no longer being ruled by how you feel. He also discovered something strange. Action often created the mood he was waiting for. One workout created energy. One focused hour created momentum. One hard conversation created relief. One completed task created confidence. One brave step created courage for the next. He had spent years waiting for emotion to start action, when action was often what created emotion. That reversal changed everything. Discipline was not punishment, it was self-trust in motion. Each time he followed through, he sent a message inward: "You can rely on me." And when a person can rely on themselves, life becomes less frightening. Still, there was one final truth to understand: what happiness really is, and why it only arrives when you stop hunting it.
For years, he imagined happiness as a place, some distant destination, a final chapter where problems disappeared, where peace became permanent, where every morning felt light. Many people believe this. They think happiness is waiting behind the promotion, the relationship, the money, the body, the move, the breakthrough, the healed version of themselves. So they run toward milestones, expecting arrival to save them. But arrival is temporary. Human beings adapt quickly. What once felt extraordinary soon becomes normal. The dream apartment becomes your address. The new salary becomes your baseline. The relationship becomes daily life. The achievement becomes old news. And then the mind asks again, what's next? This is why chasing happiness feels endless, because you are trying to turn moments into permanence, and life does not work that way. Nothing emotional stays forever, not excitement, not sadness, not confidence, not fear, not joy. Everything moves, everything changes, everything passes through. Once he understood this, he stopped demanding permanent happiness from a temporary world.
That demand had exhausted him. Instead, he began noticing where happiness actually lives, not in trophies, not in fantasies, not in constant pleasure, but in moments hidden inside meaningful living. It appears after honest effort, after finishing what was difficult, after telling the truth, after keeping your word, after helping someone, after growing through pain, after laughing unexpectedly, after sitting peacefully in a life you built slowly. Happiness is often quiet, brief, unannounced. It visits people who are busy living well. It rarely stays with those obsessively searching for it. Like sleep, the harder you chase it, the more awake you become. Like love, the harder you force it, the more artificial it feels. Like confidence, the harder you pretend it, the weaker it becomes. Some things only arrive indirectly. Happiness is one of them. He realized he had spent years staring at the butterfly while destroying the garden. He wanted the feeling without building the conditions where feelings naturally grow. So he changed focus. Less obsession with emotion, more devotion to character. Less craving pleasure, more commitment to meaning. Less asking life to entertain him, more asking life to use him well. And in that shift, happiness began appearing more often, not as fireworks, as warmth, as gratitude, as steadiness, as peace that did not need witnesses. And now there was only one thing left to say, not to himself, to anyone still exhausted from chasing what cannot be caught.
Maybe this is where you are now, tired for reasons you cannot explain, surrounded by things that should have made you happy, yet something inside still feels unsettled. You keep trying to fix yourself, trying to optimize, trying to stay positive, trying to become someone who finally feels enough. And maybe no one can see how exhausted you really are, because from the outside you look functional. You smile, you respond, you keep going. You handle responsibilities, you say you're fine, but privately you are tired of carrying a life that never feels full. If that is you, listen carefully. Your emptiness may not be failure, it may be feedback, a signal that pleasure is no longer enough. A signal that distraction has expired, a signal that your soul wants something deeper now, not more noise, not more validation, not another temporary high, something real, something earned, something rooted. Maybe you do not need to become happier, maybe you need to become truer. Truer to what matters, truer to what you know you avoid, truer to the standards you keep postponing, truer to the responsibilities calling your name, truer to the person you could become if you stopped negotiating with yourself. Because there comes a season in life when excitement stops satisfying you, when shallow pleasures lose their flavor, when endless consumption begins to feel like decay. That season is not punishment, it is maturity. It is the moment life invites you upward, toward meaning, toward discipline, toward contribution, toward inner solidity, toward a life that feels clean from the inside. So maybe stop asking, how can I feel better? And start asking, what deserves my life now? That question can rebuild a person. Start small, keep one promise, finish one hard thing, tell one truth, remove one distraction, face one fear, show up one more day. Do not wait for lightning. Most lives change through quiet repetition. And one day you will look back at the version of yourself who was desperate to feel happy and feel compassion, because they were searching the only way they knew how. But now you know better. Happiness was never the destination. It was the side effect, the echo, the fragrance of a meaningful life. And the day he stopped chasing happiness was the day happiness finally found him.